Today is none other than September 17th, 2024, and you know what that means. It is yet another wonderful Johnny-versary. But what number is it? We've done quite a few. Well, the number coordinates with how old the Johnny Test franchise is. And this year of 2024 just so happens to be the 19th Johnny-versary. And that is absolutely incredible. Now, as you guys know, I usually do big Johnny-versary live streams during, today. But unfortunately, I do not have much time these days to give to any sort of live streaming, which obviously, hours and hours and hours go into live streaming. But I've decided, since I don't have any time to modernly live stream, I decided instead to do something really big. So I thought about it. What is the biggest mystery in Johnny Test? Well, that is, where the heck does Porkbelly take place? And that is how we're going to celebrate the 19th Johnny-versary. We're gonna figure out exactly where Porkbelly is on a world map. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to find out where Porkbelly is, make sure you watch this video right until the end, because we're going to solve all of the answers of where Porkbelly is located. And with that in mind, you are going to be mind blown. So, with many months of research, it's time to put to rest this theory and figure out once and for all, where does Porkbelly take place? Happy 19th anniversary to Johnny Test, and with that in mind, let's jump right into it. There's a cartoon out there that revolves around our mischievous, extreme, rock and roll test subject 11-year-old boy. The show's title, Johnny Test. Yes, short and simple, unlike all the adjectives I've just spouted out. Johnny Test first aired on Kids WB on September 17th, 2005. The show has a rich history that dives deeper than the center of the earth, which if you're a fan of the show, you should already know. Our favorite lab rat lives in a fictional town named Porkbelly, a town that sees the threats and disasters caused by the Test kids as they test their science experiments, often leaving the town in shambles or damaged significantly. Johnny Test has graced the TV screens in over 75 countries, and as seen by so many people around the world, there's a single question that is yet to have been solved by anyone. Where does Johnny Test take place? That's right, you've heard it here. Today is the day that Johnny Test fans make history, instead of all those times when Johnny did the exact opposite and erased or rewrote history. That's right, folks, the truth will be coming out today, as we're going to discover exactly where Porkbelly is located geographically. Truth is, Johnny Test has given us a handful of tiny hints that would allow us to pinpoint where Porkbelly is located. Points that would be extraordinarily difficult to notice, implemented to throw certain adversaries off the trail, and that's us, the Johnny Test fans and theorists. From replacing flags, to erasing history, to creating jokes that are intentionally designed to compose Porkbelly as a completely ridiculous and make-believe town of fiction that'd be impossible to exist. After 18 years of this show's lifespan, the very question of where is Porkbelly located is still a mystery left unconfirmed, unless the web series happen to have answered that. But hell, we'll never know. It's lost. Hey guys, how's it hanging? It is Eric Bluejay here, and after months of studying both the world map, the town of Porkbelly and its landmarks, history and display of natural land, as well as consulting history books, historical websites, and events, I've finally been able to conduct enough research to pinpoint exactly where Porkbelly is on a map. And after this video, you can too impress all your friends by being able to point out where Johnny Test lives on a map. I know. It'll be a huge flex, trust me. But yeah, you guys have asked me for years now, through comments, through live streams, even my personal phone number. I mean, how did any of you get that? Where do I believe Porkbelly is? And if I could do a theory video about it. Before we get into it though, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could take a quick moment to leave a like rating on the video. This video has been in the works for quite the lengthy time. I had to commit myself, unlike I ever have before, so I would really appreciate the support. Going into this video, I was actually in belief of certain odds and ends to help direct me to Porkbelly's location, like the pilgrim settling in Porkbelly according to Johnny's last chapter, like the road trip during Road Trip Johnny, like the Porkbelly Porkbelly song as sang during Johnny Test 9210, but all of that was useless. None were able to help establish Porkbelly's geographic location, so instead it was about time to take a different approach. So with that in mind, let's dive on in. The first thing we have to establish where Porkbelly is located is what country it resides in, and from that point on we can dive further and further into said country. So what country does Johnny Test take place in? The most popular theories consist of two options: the United States of America and Canada, and the brief period of time where Porkbelly took place in the North Pole. But we don't talk about that. So let's start here. The general idea is that Johnny Test is an American, both having the first season produced in America, as well as creator Scott Fellows, as an American who's based the character of Johnny off himself. There's various evidence points that portray Porkbelly residing on American land. Clue number 1. In the season 1 episode, Take Your Johnny to Work Day, with an American flag backdrop, Johnny demonstrates his rights and freedoms to be excused from school, much like how his sisters are excused in order to attend Take Your Daughter to Work Day. Clue number 2 can be shown by using money. And yes, before you use that super thanks function to pay to win this clue, hold your horses. Not that kind of money. Although, if you were thinking about using it, I wouldn't be opposed. Back on track, money has been shown in a few episodes here and there, like Season 1's Johnny and the Mega Roboticals, Season 4's Who's Johnny and My Johnny Guard, Season 5's Johnny Rich, even Season 8's Johnny's Got a Brand New Mom. This is where the term greenbacks come in, as all sorts of American dollar bills are green, unlike Canada's that come in a variety of different colors. Clue number 3. During Season 3's Johnny Mustache, a Canadian border was shown on a GPS map, as it's shown a tracker blip of Bling Bling Boy illegally crossing the border into Canada, as it quite literally showed him entering from the American side. Clue number 4 can be seen at school. Season 1 episodes like Johnny Party Monster, Johnny and the Amazing Turbo Action Backpack, etc. The school that Johnny attends raises an American flag. Lost web series episode, Johnny vs. Boogerman, an American flag. The Revivals, Knowing Johnny Inside and Out, and Johnny's Got a Brand New Mom. What's that? An American flag. So yeah, at this point, it's overly safe to assume that Johnny Test does indeed take place in America rather than Canada. It's practically fact here. So this opens up avenues to now 50 options of American states that Porkbelly could possibly reside in. And yes, I do hear you, that is an overwhelmingly large number of possibilities. And for sure, I agree. However, to combat that idea, we should, instead of gazing at an American world map shouting Porkbelly facts, should rather pick a method best suited to narrow down the possible state that Porkbelly resides. My method of choice: process of elimination. Using this method, I was able to use facts from the show that deterred certain states. So let's run through. To begin, there is a very useful method that I picked up straight out of MatPat's notebook, a tactic that was able to blacklist a large number of states right off the bat. The very first tactic he's used to help determine where Springfield resides from The Simpsons. In Season 2's Downhill Johnny, Johnny has won a Mondo Getaway giveaway for a trip for 6 to Mount Porkbelly Ski Resort, proposed by Porkbelly's local radio station, K-Pork. The family invites Gil, to whom the girls try to snatch a hair sample from for a clone, and they all end up having a good time. So how does this help determine Porkbelly's whereabouts? Is it the tall snowy mountains? Is it the sport of skiing? No, rather the very radio station shown during. This radio station is called K-Pork. How is this important? Well, according to MatPat's research, the Federal Communications Commission organized a structure of radio station call letters back in the early 1920s. According to his research, all states east of the Mississippi River would have call letters that started with the letter W, much like NBC's New York radio station, WNYC. Meanwhile, stations west of the Mississippi River would start with the letter K. This means Porkbelly's K-Pork radio station cannot reside in any of the 26 states that are completely east of the Mississippi River. That's right, Wisconsin, Illinois, Mississippi, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Ohio, Georgia, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Maine. Easy as that, struck off the list. And apparently Minnesota and Louisiana are the exceptions, as they both have radio stations that begin with both W and K, leaving them both as candidates for now. So yeah, that takes off just about half of the country so far. To continue the method of process of elimination, there's a few clues here and there that suggest states that Porkbelly does not reside in. One popular theory regarding what state Porkbelly resides in is California. However, that can be labeled as incorrect as of 2 episodes. The first one being Johnny Dodgeball, where Sissy Blakely enlists Johnny into her dodgeball club, that, well, only consists of herself. Her dodgeball club fights other dodgeball clubs across the country, and in one of the tournaments, Johnny and Sissy were seen playing in a tournament in California. This was shown as Sissy said the following:
"We play other dodgeball clubs all over the country, from the coast..."
As in a state that's not where they currently are. As in where California is a coastlining state. Johnny 9210 is also helpful in stating that Porkbelly isn't located in California. Johnny is bored of the same old rat race that is life in Porkbelly. After Mom trying to explain why Porkbelly is an amazing town, she challenges Johnny to name one place better than Porkbelly, which Johnny immediately responds with
California, Paris, Antarctica. Mostly California.
I said one place.
So yeah, as just listed off, it's clear that Porkbelly does not reside in California, Paris, or Antarctica, which crosses California off the board. As well as a bonus, that being Porkbelly does not reside in the capital of France, which was already made obvious during Magic Johnny. And of course it clearly can't take place in Antarctica. And speaking of Antarctica, there's 4 more states that we can begin to strike off the list. First off, let's use Johnny Dodgeball. We heard earlier from Sissy of locations that the team will be competing in. In other words, states Porkbelly wouldn't reside in as they're supposed to be traveling there. Although, this area where they played this tournament isn't confirmed to be Alaska, I'm willing to bet this area is intended to be the state of Alaska. Something else Johnny Dodgeball shows is this tournament under a stadium shaped like a big cowboy hat, as this is most likely referencing Texas. This has an ever so slight chance of also referencing Arizona or New Mexico, judging by the stars, as well as how cowboy-like activities and stereotypes also yonder around them. Another fact deterring Arizona from a possible candidate is the fact that, as shown in Johnny vs. Bling Bling 3, Johnny and Dookie were sent out to retrieve a beetroot of a Pima cactus located in the Arizona desert. Johnny asks,
And how do we get it?
implying that the Arizona desert isn't anywhere near them. And thusly, 4 more states knocked off the list: Alaska, Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico, leaving us with roughly this outline of 19 states left so far. However, there are 2 more individual states that I can most certainly tell you Porkbelly is not located in. What states would they be, you might ask? Well, according to Johnny Test's Ultimate Meatloaf Quest, the interactive experience video game that remains canon to the show, Johnny and Dookie try something to escape an evil cat attack. Johnny tries something he's seen in a movie once, I believe referencing Alice in Wonderland if I'm not mistaken. Johnny clicks his heels and somehow teleports him and Dookie to Kansas, meaning Porkbelly does not take place in Kansas, allowing it to be the next struck off the list. And lastly, according to Johnny's Roman holiday, Johnny places various, totally not obvious at all, hints around the house, expressing that he wishes to have their family vacation in Hawaii, thusly striking another state off the list. So the process of elimination continuing to knock states off the list. It's time to implement our next one. Let's use the popular debate, in which has been used over the years to guide us to Porkbelly's location. In In Johnny Mustache, as I mentioned earlier, the gang was literally able to watch Eugene, who was mistaken as the Beast by the town, news, and military, quite literally cross from America through a Canadian border into Canada. What province of Canada and which border is unknown. However, we were quite lucky to receive the first ever look at a world map we've ever gotten from the show. Later, as the show went on, we were teased with other maps, like from Johnny and the Squishy Wooshies, Johnny Dent, etc. However, the most important glance we've ever gotten was indeed from that of Johnny Mustache, signaling that Porkbelly resides in a state that neighbors Canada, which thusly removes 12 entire states from the remaining list. Oregon, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana, which leaves us with the last remaining 5 states Porkbelly might reside in: Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota. Man, you know, it's crazy how minutes earlier we began at 50 states, but like, look at us now, tracked down to 5. That's insane to think about. Anyway, this is where it became extraordinarily dicey to whittle down. According to my research, all Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota are quite similar to one another, each with a variety of hills, wharfs, ski mountains, suburbs, businesses, political buildings, sports, activities, schools, etc. So I thought about it. What I want to do is go over what these 5 states have in common to each other and Porkbelly, and using that knowledge, I can find what states are lacking and therefore strike. The first example we'll use is a fairly weak one, but I chose this one because people will always bring this up when discussing Porkbelly's whereabouts. Season 4's Johnny Test's Day Off is not only parodying Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but it also helps confirm that Porkbelly is an American town, judging by the truant officer, as Canada does not use truant officers. From my research, there is a handful of states where the use of truant officers is mandatory as of the state's law legislation, Montana being one of them, but that doesn't make Montana our answer. Not every state enforces truant officers. However, roughly 90% of America uses a form of truancy programs and service centers that combat student truancy. However, the officers are still indeed utilized, which Washington, Idaho, North Dakota, and Minnesota each have a truancy program or service center, allowing them to also be on the table. With no eliminations yet, let's see what other obscure Porkbelly comparisons we can examine. According to Johnny's new baby brother, the baby brother bot was sent 2,000 miles away to a military school. Using the helpful tool of Google Maps and its features, I was able to find something out. Each of our remaining 5 states do indeed have a military school that's 2,000 miles away. That being Edoiko Colegio Militare, otherwise known as Heroic Military Academy, a military educational institution that resides in Tlalpan, Mexico City, Mexico. That's right, as of now, it's finally confirmed that the military school mentioned in Johnny's new baby brother is indeed located across the border in Mexico, as each of the 5 remaining states are each 2,000 in the ballpark miles away from it. Okay, enough beating around the bush. It's time I cross one of these 5 remaining states off the list. And I'm totally not joshing this time. Remember earlier, like very close to the beginning of this video, I mentioned how Wildbrain and Scott have planted tiny hints as to where Porkbelly is located. Discovering and compiling these clues and using them, you're actually able to piece together the truth. And I'm going to dispose one of the handful of hints right now. It's time to go back to school. A simpler time where we sat on a hard plastic chair behind a desk for 6 hours in a classroom, listening to a teacher ramble about, I don't know, Pythagorean theorem for an hour. Can you tell I never paid attention in class? Now you might be saying, hold on there, Blue Jay. You already mentioned the American flag the school has. Okay, but what if I told you this planted hint isn't located outside the school, but inside the school?
Wow! Really? I still don't care.
Specifically, Johnny's classroom. So what does Johnny's classroom have to do with Porkbelly's location? Well, let's align what we know about summer vacation episodes as seen in Johnny Test episodes. Summer vacation has been mentioned to be happening a multitude of times. Sunshine Malibu Johnny, Lakeside Johnny, Knowing Johnny Inside and Out, etc. Each taking place during the last day of school second day of summer vacation, and first day of summer vacation. Summer vacation's identity is a huge factor in helping find Porkbelly's location. The end of a school year can vary across America. Out of our last remaining candidates, Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota each have school districts that end their school years in either May or June. According to my research and publicholidays.com, Idaho, Montana, and North Dakota each have school years that end in either May or June. Minnesota schools, on the other hand, end exclusively in May all across the state. And Washington actually has 0 schools that end in May. Thusly, farewell to Washington. You've been struck from the list for being the odd one out, leaving us down to the final 4. So why is this information important? Well, we actually know of one date in particular out of the range of summer vacation episodes I've listed off a minute ago. Take a look at this. This is a screenshot of a calendar that's visible in 4 episodes of season 4, which reads May 12th. However, only one sighting from one of those 4 episodes actually takes place during the last day of school. This means the date's number of the last day of school has fluctuated, both in the past and future episodes, but remained during the month of May. Papa Johnny, Sunshine Malibu Johnny, Johnny's Got a Wart, and Johnny Lockdown. Although each episode I just listed took place during May 12th, only one of them is confirmed to have taken place during the last day of school. That's right, Sunshine Malibu Johnny. Now, in order to grasp the final state holding the true geographical position of Porkbelly, we need to look at one final episode, Double Johnny Coupons. In this episode, the Santa Banana winds have struck Porkbelly, while Johnny trying to exploit these harsh wind conditions to make a run on a skateboard down the steepest hill in Porkbelly. After losing all body fat temporarily, Johnny was sent flying in the sky, Susan and Mary calculating where Johnny would land, using the estimated time of returning to normal boy mass, the number of his reduced weight, and the units of the current weather's windstorm. Take a look at this clip, and tell me if you pick up on anything.
Well, we only gave him a microdose. So projecting Johnny's reduced weight and the northeasterly swirling winds, and estimated time of return to normal boy mass, Johnny should be landing right about now.
Did you hear it? Mary just said, so projecting Johnny's reduced weight and the northeasterly swirly winds. Northeasterly swirly winds. Notice how she said the northeasterly swirly winds, as in this windstorm has originated from the more northeasterly part of the world, and the first and most likely state to be affected from winds originating from there would be Minnesota. Minnesota, that's right, the answer is actually Minnesota. Porkbelly resides within the state of Minnesota, the very state that every single district school year ends in May. But Blue Jay, you yourself said earlier that Idaho, Montana, and North Dakota each have school districts where the school year ends in both May and June. So by that logic, further investigation should be necessary before you rule them out. And yeah, for sure, I would agree with that. However, I wouldn't have thrown caution in the wind like that if I wasn't prepared. So thusly, let's bring home the Minnesota theory. Remember earlier when I said this calendar marking the date of summer vacation showed up 4 times? Believe it or not, but that was actually a subtle message hinting at Porkbelly's location the whole time. An insanely tiny detail left for a theorist that would have never been discovered unless a theorist made it this far. Listen carefully. This very calendar in season 4 was shown 4 times. 4 episodes that took place in season 4. What were the remaining 4 states we were left with again? 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Minnesota is where we land. And furthermore, did you know that Minnesota during 1894, a devastating wildfire accident has occurred? This is known as the Great Hinckley Fire of 1894. And furthermore, Porkbelly originally, before Johnny erased it from history, actually undergone a devastating wildfire of their own, taking place in Porkbelly 1845, the Great Porkbelly Fire of 1845, as mentioned in Old School Johnny. And furthermore, as I mentioned earlier, Double Johnny Coupons has displayed a windstorm known as the Santa Banana winds, northeasterly swirly winds originating from the more northeasterly part of the world. and the first and most likely state to get affected by winds originating from there would be Minnesota. And furthermore, did you know that one of Scott's other shows took place on the very same land as Johnny Test? That's right, Big Time Rush. Before moving the gang to Los Angeles to make it Big Time Rush's original location from episode 1 was within the state of Minnesota. So yeah, I think that should sum it up nicely. Porkbelly's location has finally been confirmed. Big shout out to EM for the base theory of Minnesota, as in the first person to even suggest Minnesota. With that in mind, upon my research, I not only figured out what state Porkbelly resides in, but I've also located where Porkbelly takes place geographically within Minnesota, as in I know what town Porkbelly resides over in the real Minnesota. What town of Minnesota is the real life land belonging to the fictional town of Porkbelly? So if you'd like to see that, leave a like rating on the video, show a ton of support, and I'll make a theory video discussing the specifics. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed my theory video. If you made it this far into this video, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Again, if you found this video informative, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more Johnny Test videos, and tap the bell icon down below to be notified for future videos. If you'd like to see a showcase of every single Johnny Test McDonald's Happy Meal toy, click the video you're currently seeing on your screen. Or maybe, if you'd like to see the top 10 most viewed episodes of Johnny Test, click the other video that you're currently seeing on your screen.